Hello, everybody. Today we're going to talk about elements of inclusion and victim inclusion in our criminal justice proceedings. Inclusion means having opportunity for direct and active involvement of each party that follows a crime. That is a quote from our book. That means the defendant, the victim, judges, defense, and prosecution lawyers. That means all of them have a particular role to play in these proceedings. Victims and community members usually have minimum roles in these situations. The convicted usually is usually a passive participant because they're being the ones charged. The prosecution, defense lawyers, and judges, and even sometimes the jury members, make the most crucial decisions and have the most action in our criminal justice system. The victim is usually a witness for the prosecution mostly. That's like their biggest role, but in my opinion, that shouldn't be true because the victim should be more than that. They should be like an active member in these criminal justice proceedings. So just calling them a witness for prosecution kind of diminishes what they went through. And the convicted as a passive participant, I believe that is kind of true, but not really, because they're one of the main focuses on why they're there, and so they should be treated equally as such as the victim. So both victim and the convicted should be treated fairly and have a bigger role in these proceedings, and they shouldn't be labeled as a victim only being a witness and the convicted be only a passive participant. I think that's just too broad of those definitions. They're more than that in these proceedings. That's what I believe in. Victim inclusion has a lot going for them. The victim may ask the prosecutor to review and reverse a decision. So that means a victim may appeal a decision a prosecutor made about a decision on a case, which could be detrimental and helpful for the victim depending on the situation, because most of the time the prosecutors usually know what they're doing and know what cases to pursue, and sometimes the prosecutor makes mistakes, and that's when the victim comes in. So it could be 50-50 on that. So that's good that the victim has power to do that. The victim may appeal to the court. That's really good. But depending on the situation, it could be really bad because the courts are usually right in these situations, but sometimes they're not. So that's pretty good for the victim. And for bail, victims has a lot of rights too. They're permitted to present supporting evidence because sometimes they're afraid that they could be a flight risk and they can end up hurting the victim again. So that's pretty good. I don't see any detrimental on that. And it could continue to work and increase the likelihood of collecting restitution. So the victim having power over bail could get the likelihood of being paid restitution. But on the other side, that could be detrimental for the court because they want plea agreements to basically dodge trials, so they won't have to go through a long process of going through trial. So it could be detrimental and help for either side, the court or the victim. So there's that. And victims also have involvement for plea bargaining situations. This is usually for the state getting quick agreements and all that. And it may be at odds of victim interest in restitution, because in some situations this is just to prevent trial, and sometimes if they get a plea agreement, the restitutions are lower some of the times for the victim, and that's kind of detrimental for the victim because they should be getting restitution for what has happened to them. But it could be good for the courts because they don't want to go through a long trial and all that. They have the right, victims have the right to intervene at sentencing to seek reparations. So they can prevent all that by challenging plea bargains and all that, so they can get what they truly want and deserve, because they are the victims of a crime, and they should have all these inclusion rights in these situations. Victims give information at proceedings, observe the meetings, they have formal presentation, and victim impact statement, and that could be crucial in a court case because that could really lead to the decision of what happens in those cases. So that's what the elements in inclusion and victim inclusions are really about. In conclusion, the victims have the rights for the beginning of the trial, to deal with the prosecution to see if they have a case. They have a chance to have their voice heard during bail, and they have a lot of rights for plea bargaining and even sentencing and post-sentencing situations. And that's what mostly inclusion means: having involvement in a party that follows a crime. I quote that again. And I believe it's good that that victims have so much inclusion and rights in our criminal justice system. Sometimes it's for their help, and sometimes it's detrimental for their cause. But it is good that it's there, just in case, because everybody involved should have rights, including the convicted. So everything should be fair in these situations, because these are people's lives, and that should not be tread lightly, And that's pretty much it. Those are my opinions on this matter. I believe victims inclusion is right, and I believe inclusion for every party is right, and that should be how our criminal justice system should be, and it is right now, thankfully. Well, everybody have a good day. See you later. See you in class. Bye.